I didn't know.
240, I got about 100. Then my brother and I went, it's just hammered the ball on it. So we ended up with 3-gallon bags each full. Matt, good. How are you? Hey, do you know? Probably. What's ICAP's net weight premium? You know what systems they use? Who deals with them? I need to call them. I gotta be careful though because I want to sell them software. I just don't want to see it. When I'm looking at what they're doing, I'm like, perfect example of this.
I'm going to call the September 16th meeting of the West Des Moines City Council to order and invite you all to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please sign in.
Four members present.
Okay, have there been any changes to the agenda?
There is one change, removal of item 5B, Ashworth Road design criteria, which will be brought back at a future meeting.
Okay, so if there is anybody in the audience at this point in time that is here for this meeting, we've got a sign-in sheet. We will notify you when this is back on the agenda. There was just a technicality, and that's the reason that it's getting pulled off the agenda, but it will be back at a future meeting. I'm thinking it will be back on the October 21st. I think we might bring it back October 21st. Well, we will notify you if you want to sign in here. We'll try to notify everybody when it gets back on the agenda.
Ross, can we take that one step farther and notify everyone that was notified of the public meeting last Tuesday that it's going to be coming to the council meeting, because there's only about, I don't know, what, 2 or 3 people that were aware that it was happening tonight. So-
Sure, so do we know, did we have a sign-in at the last public meeting?
No, what I'm saying is anybody that was notified about the not that was there, that was notified about the public meeting, be notified when it comes to the council.
Okay, I guess I would just ask, Jamie, is that okay?
Do that, and
Okay.
also we have this as well.
Okay, so we'll have this, if you want to sign over here, we've got a sheet of paper and a pen, and we will also notify anybody that was notified of the public meeting. We are sorry for those of you that made it here. We just had a technicality, and to be fair, we've got to pull it from this agenda. Okay, with that, can I get, oh yeah, let's re-sign in real quick.
Also, given this extra time for those residents who are here, feel free to reach out to us in the intervening time, because we'd love to hear from you. If you would like to share your thoughts in the intervening time, that would be great too.
The item on Ashworth Road is being pulled. Okay, so with that, can I get a motion to
We
approve?
still need to finish the re-sign in. Greg, we didn't get Greg's.
I got you.
All right. Now we have 5 members present.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded, please vote.
Five yes.
Okay, moving on to item 2, Citizens Forum. If there's anybody here for any item that is not either part of new business, which are public hearing, which is item 6, or new business, which is item 7, then this is your time. Please come to the podium here, give us your name and address for the record. We ask that you keep it to 5 minutes or under, and that you keep it civil and respectful. Okay, if you could, your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm Janine Ritchie. I'm the Dallas County Attorney. I'm here today to inform the council and those residents of Dallas County in West Des Moines that our Board of Supervisors has agreed and passed a resolution to put on the fall referendum on the ballot a bond issue supporting a new criminal court building in Dallas County. As everybody here knows, the population growth that's spreading west into Dallas County, we have a need for more courtrooms and more state employees to assist in the criminal justice side of things. Our beautiful courthouse in the square of Adel will remain active and in excellent condition. It's just that we've outgrown it. We have a substantial amount of trials that go both on the civil side of things, which include family law matters, divorces, adoptions, and of course, other civil cases where people sue over traffic accidents or estate issues. So we are finding that it's harder to find time for both of those worlds to exist in our courthouse, which was built in 1902. And as it stands, it's very iconic, but we really feel that this is the time and place to put forward on the fall ballot and ask the public to support this bond issue for our courthouse. I worked specifically with the police chief here and all the other chiefs and our sheriff in Dallas County, and they can tell you that bringing inmates into our courthouse currently, they enter the same entrance as the public does, and that creates a real safety hazard. And that's one reason why we need to think about the design of a new courthouse to host those criminal matters, to keep our jurors and the general public that you might be coming into just pay a traffic ticket, right? And hopefully, if you visit our website, I will leave with your clerk some sheets, information and fact sheets that we've put together. And it has a scan item here that you can scan with your phone and go to the Dallas County website and see some architectural renderings of what the building perhaps will look like. So I just wanted to inform council that we're here. If you get inquiries, I would be glad to come back at a time and date and be on the agenda with more specifics than a PowerPoint or anything if you find out there are more interest in it. But I just wanted to kind of introduce myself and let you know that we are feeling the crunch too. Just as you expand west into Dallas, we're seeing lots and lots of need for an additional courtroom space. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. I just have one real quick question, and that is the question that we're getting initially right now is, why was this so last minute? This is something that we just learned of, like right before the buzzer went off. And I guess my question to you, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, and maybe you don't know the answer, but I mean, how long have you guys been working on this, and why are we just hearing about it now?
So the county has built a new administration building to hold all the county offices. If you've come to Dallas County for services, we have been scattered, the auditor, the treasurer, we've been scattered in different buildings. The administration building that's just on the north side of the courthouse will house all the offices. So you can get your car registration, you can pay your property taxes, you can get on the agenda for a Board of Supervisors meeting, all in the same building. It was during that process, and that building is being funded by recovery monies after COVID. So we did not have to go to the public for support. And in March, committees were formed to discuss perhaps some new improvements. Our county engineer is seeking a new office. He's living with bats in the belfry sort of thing in his building. So it was during that discussion that materials will continue to increase in price. And we followed the construction manager at risk model for the building of the administration building, which has been very successful for us. The law changed, the governor changed that law in 2022 to allow municipalities and state governments to use that model of construction, and we've found it very successful. We've gone through that same process, and so it has been somewhat last minute, but yet the need has been there. I've been in the office as a prosecutor for 36 years, and it seems like every 5 years we kind of remodel that courthouse to adjust to the needs of the growing court matters.
Okay, so this is something that has been needed. It's something that's been talked about in the past, so if we were following along, getting the public notices, we would have seen that this has been talked about a number of times.
It's been talked about at the general board meetings, yes, in the
Okay.
past several
Okay,
months. It's-
perfect. Thank you, thank you. Anybody else have any questions at this point?
Yeah, Janine, thanks for being here. If you want to share with everybody, are there tax implications that are a part of this? And we would love to hear those.
Yes, thank you for asking. The bond is about $56.9 million. How that breaks down is over a period of time, property owners will be assessed approximately between $18 and $19 for those with property values of $100,000 or less, and if they're under age 65. If you over age 65 and you have the homestead exemption, it's probably going to be rounded to the lower number of the $18 a year. I'm kind of, with Dallas County, I'm kind of referring that to the cost of a Casey's Pizza. And we think that that's something that every household can kind of relate to, and hopefully see that would enhance any experience that the public would have if they entered that courtroom and the courthouse and see the need for it. And it would be located right next to our law enforcement center for the sheriff's office on Highway 6. So we are still in the Adel city limits, but we would not share the building, but we would be right next to the sheriff's office where our jail is as well.
Okay, and I'm assuming that I didn't ask that question because it's all going to be contained in that sheet. The tax implications, the purpose, and everything is going to be in that.
It will be.
Okay,
It will be.
perfect.
Thank you.
Any other
Appreciate it.
questions? We good? Okay, thank you so much. Anybody else for Citizens Forum?
Good evening, Tom Stoll, 3530 Commerce Drive here in West Des Moines. What I love about the city is we always have if there's issues in the city, we have a collaborative talk. We just had the open space, as you all are well aware. Worked with city staff, we came to a great solution at the end. Tonight I'm up here to talk about item 4M3. It's regarding a feasibility study for Raccoon River crossings. I would like to ask you to at least postpone that or extend it or just keep it to the west part of I-35. Over the last 30 years, we've talked about a bridge crossing across 35th Street and 50th through Walnut State Park and then connecting to the Highway 5 bypass. I understand there's a need for development and economic development south of the river. We need to expand that way. I'm all for that, 110% behind that. However, this area has been talked about over 30 years for a bridge crossing, and every time it's come back that it's just not a viable option. So right now, it's proposed to spend, I think it's $150,000 for a consultant to look at this area. I would much rather do it as a collaborative effort and bring all the invested parties in. DNR had a really strong opinion last time. We got the state of Iowa. We have now Des Moines Water Works has a facility over there. A lot of environmental concerns. I would much rather save the $75,000, whatever the half for the east of I-35 bridge, and sit down and talk about it and get all the interested parties in and talk about it. So I'd like to have you extend the opportunity to just either postpone it, I'm not sure your guys' procedures, or proceed on with the west of I-35. I know there's a lot more development west. That bridge has been consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan, we've gone through several times of this, and the I-30 or 35th Street and 50th Bridge, the commerce area, has been retracted each time. However, the Mill Civic or Jordan Creek Parkway Bridge is still on there. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan. By just getting a consultant to justify a bridge is probably not the way to go. Let's all sit down and let's talk about it before we spend some money.
All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Tom. Brian, do you want to come up and address that, the feasibility study and the areas that we're looking at, if you could? You know, why are we looking at these areas? Why aren't we looking at more areas? I think that's something that we need to know. I'm assuming that somebody's going to pull this and have a separate discussion on it.
I think procedurally, we need to move through item 4, and I was planning on pulling this, and I think that's the proper time to have this discussion, because we can't take any action if it's not been pulled, so.
That's, either's fine. That's fine. You wanted to sit there in the front row and wait till we
Yeah,
get
I
to it?
can wait.
All right.
Sure.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, anybody else for citizens forum at this time? All right, come on up and give us your name and address for the record. Oh, right, you got here a little bit late, but we pulled the item. I think you're probably here for the
Someone
Ashworth.
else.
Someone else?
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
First off, thank you for your time, Mayor. Renee, it was so good to see you at LumaFest. Likewise. I just want to say, you know, West Des Moines is doing some great things, and I want to applaud you all for the efforts that you're putting forth to make our hometown a good hometown. I was a little bit disgruntled on the tearing down of a building on 5th Street, and you'll see me if a rusty object goes up in its place. You know, my mother bought her first building in Valley Junction in 1953. I have her bill of sale for the original City Hall for $3,500 cash. And she subsequently sold that several times and got it back several times and sold it to Betty Hill a couple more times. But I just ask that you guys, you know, take a seat back and glorify in what our forefathers put in front of us. I'm reminded continually, I go down to Bick's all the time. I walk by my grandparents' old furniture store at 135 5th Street. It still says McIntyre's Furniture right there. There's a time capsule in the wall of that building from 1953. It probably has your dad's name in there, Kevin, because I think your dad or my dad ran for city council back in the day. I know my dad did in 75, I think, or 74. But just relish the fact of what we have here. Not only do we have a great place to live, eat, and learn, but we also have a place that we can historically embrace and teach our kids. Going through my mom's items, I know all about the original Clegg house that was a round house at 5th and Ashworth, which a lot of people probably don't know that there was a round house at 5th and Ashworth at the time. I will be willing all of these artifacts to the West Des Moines Historical Society because I don't want to store them any longer. If you all need some china, I probably have about 17 sets of china also. But I just want to applaud you with your efforts that you've done. Ask you to please sit back in regards to any more buildings that you may allow to be demolished in West Des Moines. You guys found a lot of money for the old City Hall. I'm sure that there could be more money to be found to save some other historical structures. I grew up in a time and age when a lot of you probably weren't here. I am 62, but at my ripe age of 6, there was 39 bars on 5th Street in West Des Moines. And Horseman's was one of them that we could spit out the apartment of the City Hall and probably hit the front of it. And so I'm glad that they're not all bars, that there's some really good restaurants there. But really, I applaud you in regards to what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, embracing culture, diversity, Renee. It's more than a long time coming for West Des Moines, but also just embrace the culture that was made by our parents, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents for this city, okay? And I will see you again in the future.
All right, appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Anybody else for citizens forum? Is there anybody online for citizens forum? If so, hit *6 to unmute yourself and give us your name and address for the record. Is there anybody online for citizens forum? *6. Okay, hearing and seeing no one. Citizens forum is closed. We'll move on to item 3, Mayor, Council, Manager Report, Other Entities Update. And I will start to my left here with Councilman Lotz.
Nothing to report, Your Honor. Just happy to be back.
All right. Councilman Trevilian.
Well, unfortunately, Mayor, you missed a great grand opening last Friday.
Oh, I did.
Top Golf.
I heard you did a phenomenal job, probably better than I would have done.
Well, I don't know about that, but thank you. It was very well attended, And it's a great facility. If you've not been out there, I encourage everyone to go out and check it out. Whether you play golf or not, you will enjoy the facility, beverages, food, and just watching people play golf. So go out there and check it out.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for covering for me not only at the Top Golf, but also a couple different meetings that I wasn't able to be at.
You're welcome. Glad to do it.
Thank you. All right. Councilwoman Hardman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to also congratulate Top Golf. It was a phenomenal ribbon cutting. It was wonderful. And Councilman Treville, you did not do a nice job representing the city and sharing the value and the importance of that particular enterprise here right in our backyard. So just excited. But there was another ribbon cutting that was probably even bigger in some ways in terms of the number of people that were there. DMU University had a ribbon cutting on Saturday, and it was absolutely incredible. They were able to bring in over close to 800 alumni from all across the country to come back to that campus. In addition to all the communities, there are probably 1,200 to 1,300 people there. And then there were tours. And so to be able to be a part of that ribbon cutting as a trustee and to see the amount of people that were there, to see this phenomenal educational institution right up the street, what we call Education Corridor, DMAX there and whatnot, was just phenomenal. So kudos to all the folks at DMU and the work that they did to move Des Moines University from Des Moines to West Des Moines. They still are on Grand. They remind us of that, just 9 miles west. I'd like to also indicate, it was a busy week last week, but I attended the West Des Moines Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Award ceremony, of which 13 people received awards for what they're doing to create a sense of belonging and acceptance. And never more proud to sit there and cheer our group on, and that is the Human Rights Commission. Mayor Trimble and I were at the table and was able to be in person to laud them for what they've done, how they've elevated the work that this commission has done over the years. I've been on it for many years, and they have certainly elevated the work that we do. So congratulations, Audrey. I see you on the screen there, but I want to say congratulations under your leadership and the folks that get to come every month to work with you. It's a delight and a pleasure, and congratulations on winning the government award for the Chamber's DEI. And then lastly, I'd like to say that the Illumina Fest has come and gone. It was wonderful. It was a beautiful day. Ryan, I don't think you could have chosen a better day for it. And to be out to support the work that Park and Recs is doing on an annual basis, where you have children and families come out to enjoy everything under the sun. It was really neat to see that right in our backyard here, right in City Hall. So congratulations to Park and Rec for another successful Illumina Fest for families and children. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman McKinney.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
I'll just briefly echo the comments on both Topgolf and DMU. Excellent events. I didn't know, it's probably the largest ribbon cutting I went to was the Topgolf ribbon cutting since I've been on council. And then a week later, I went to the next largest, the largest one that I had been at, and that is DMU. And the number of folks that showed up there, the investment that they made in this community is incredible. And to see the sort of technology and the vision that they have for the next, who knows how long, decades, it's amazing to walk through that campus. I can't imagine the sort of, what that means for education in our community, what that means for the future of healthcare in our community, what that means for a lot of different things. So just a big thank you to DMU and Councilwoman Renee. I know you're on the board there, so you ought to be very proud of everything you did. I guess, two additional items. First, Mayor, I want to say to you, thank you for all the work that you're doing on DART. I know it's a lot of long hours. I know it's a lot of communications with other communities and the entire metro to try to keep people aligned and marching in the same direction. And that is not easy, especially, given all the other things that we have going on. So just a big shout out to you and thanks to you for doing a lot of work to try to keep everybody rowing in the same direction.
Thank you.
And the last thing, Reich Plekis's comments here, I want to highlight the fact that, it was not an easy thing to see what happened in Valley Junction. It was not easy to see that building fall into the state of, or the condition it was in. It was significantly deteriorated. We had an engineer evaluate it and determine that this building was not safe. People could not enter the building, which is why for the last roughly year plus, it was cordoned off. You had tape out there, you had fencing out there. It was interfering with the ability to people to walk down the street, to visit other businesses in the area. It was not a good thing for anybody. It was really unfortunate to see that we had to go, or at least the property owner had to go through the process of taking that down. And I hear his comments. If I see a rusty building go up in that spot, I'm not going to be happy either. And that's why I think it's incredibly important that we get those design guidelines. To me, they are going to be enforced, but we got to get them codified. It is critical we get those things codified. And as far as anything that comes before this council, my vote will be to enforce those guidelines regardless of whether they're codified, because everybody in the community knows that we have adopted them in principle. And it's really important that we preserve that history. And yes, we have to be careful of what, public health and safety. So anything that goes back up there is going to help to look very historic and, fit the fabric of the neighborhood. Those are my comments, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Councilman Lotz, welcome back. I know there's been a lot of goings on in the community while you two have been away, but certainly we know you've been in here in spirit, and we know that you're excited about all this stuff, even if you weren't present because of other things that were going on out of town. So, they say you can't mix business and pleasure, but Topgolf, folks, it was an amazing time when we see an amazing business come to West Des Moines, and we see so many folks. I drive by at night and people are there. I drive by in the afternoon, people are there. So it's really exciting to have it right here in West Des Moines. So great ribbon cutting. Councilwoman Hardman, congratulations on DMU's ribbon cutting as a member of the trustees there. I want to echo what Matt said. It's not just an amazing facility, it is a world-class facility, and it's right here in West Des Moines. If we're talking about business, if we're talking about educational facilities, Matt and I were talking, we had asked, who are we talking to? Who were telling us about enrollment and how many people are on the campus. Yeah, I was talking to Stephanie, who is the Vice President of Advancement, is that right? And she was saying at any moment there might be 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people on that campus. And that is just amazing to consider that a world-class facility like DMU is right here in West Des Moines, and that so many people are in our community. I assume fairly bright people who are here in our community doing amazing things, cutting edge research. It's amazing. So really excited about that. To Ryan Penning and his team at Parks and Rec, kudos on an excellent LumaFest. It was fantastic, really enjoyable evening and a perfect night for it. So Councilwoman, it's nice seeing you there as well. Going through the list. I did want to say that we had a Catch Des Moines Executive Board meeting. I serve as the vice chair right now. And I think there's been a lot of conversation about partnerships in the Des Moines metropolitan area right now. I'm a big fan of partnerships because I think as a community, when we all work together, the suburbs and the city of Des Moines together, we do get stronger. And I know Mayor Trumbull agrees. He is the chair of DART right now. So whether it be DART, whether it be Catch Des Moines, whatever the institution is that brings everybody up together, I think it's great because when cities and their surrounding suburbs don't work together, it can go downhill. And we definitely don't want to go downhill. Central Iowa is an amazing place to be. And so let's continue with that. Next was, the Dallas County vote. So I know that Janine was here sharing about the Dallas County vote on the bond, but for folks who live in Dallas County, and I know I'm only the only council member up here / mayor who lives in Dallas County, but there's also a referendum to increase the number of supervisors from 3 to 5. That will also be on the agenda, the voting ballot in November. So I want to encourage everybody in Dallas County, West Des Moines residents, and everybody to look closely at what it is. Look closely at the bond. I know when it comes to the bond, I've been looking at it for a little bit, and I'm glad that Janine was able to share with everyone a bit of the details. And looking at what Dallas County needs, it's the 10th fastest growing county in the entirety of the United States. And with that in mind, there are some infrastructure needs that we have, including my support for this particular criminal court building. I know Sheriff Infante believes in it, and I know Sheriff Infante does an amazing job out in Dallas County, so I'll be supporting this bond when my vote is, when I'll be in the ballot booth on November 5th, which is my final reminder. Hey, it's time to get registered to vote if you're not already registered to vote. And it's easy to register to vote in the state of Iowa. So from your local social studies teacher, register to vote and get voting. You can also vote absentee early, or you can vote in satellite voting locations everywhere. Hey, the vote's coming up. Let's get after it. That concludes my report, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilman. Really appreciate it. Okay, Deputy City Manager Letzring, any report? Okay. Yeah, I would just say, first of all, it's great being back here with you guys. I've missed a couple meetings while dropping kids off at college. We had 4 kids in the house. We're now down to 1, almost to the empty nest stage. My house is awfully quiet and awfully lonely at this point in time, but we still do have one who's a junior at Valley, so glad that we have him. And I really do appreciate my Mayor Pro Tem, Trevelyan, substituting for me, filling in. He's done a phenomenal job. I've had him working overtime, so I appreciate that. And then as far as DART goes and partnerships go, absolutely. Many of you have seen what's in the news. We have been working extremely hard to try to find a path forward. We know that we're better together. We want to continue to stay together and provide transit throughout this metro. We've got to provide public transit the way that we all live, work, and play. I live in West Des Moines. I work in downtown Des Moines. We've taken kids to Urbandale and the youth sports capital of the world, Grimes, for many youth sports. And, you just think about how we all live our lives. It's important to have a regional system. So we're hoping that we get that done. We're going to be having a number of conversations between the suburbs and Des Moines to try to find that path forward over the next couple months. We're very hopeful that we'll be able to get that done. But we do have to make sure that in each one of these partnerships that we are a part of, that the cost and the benefit of belonging are reasonable and fair and make sense, not only for us as a city, but let's be honest, for our taxpayers who are footing the bill for every single thing we do. People like to talk, oh, West Des Moines should pay this, West Des Moines should do that. There is no West Des Moines. It's our taxpayers. Okay, so we got to come up with something that's fair, something that's reasonable. And because if we don't, then what happens is you've got a domino effect going on. And you're seeing it happen now. You've seen it happen over the last several years where communities are taking a look and they're going, this just doesn't make sense. Based on the number of people that I've got traveling on the bus, and I understand there's indirect impact as well that we get, and that's great, but I just can't justify it. And as a result, Grimes has dropped out, and now Pleasant Hill has announced they're dropping out. At some point in time, we're all going to have to redistribute that cost. That's about $1 million to the remaining communities in DART. Well, we're already struggling to hold the weight. So now that's going to be more for the rest of us to share. And God forbid another community drops out, then we're in big trouble. So we're trying to figure out a way forward. I'm very hopeful that we're going to do that. And we're going to continue to meet as often as necessary to get that done. So anyway, great to be back here with all you guys. Really appreciate everything. So, yes,
Mr.
Councilwoman.
Mayor, I saw a report, and maybe you can acknowledge that West Des Moines is currently utilizing 30% of DART services
Yeah.
and paying 60%.
Yep. It's actually worse than that. It's collectively as suburbs, we are receiving collectively 26% of the service, and we're paying collectively 67% of the bill. So it's been cost and the benefit being far out of whack for a very long time that has unfortunately led to this point. And, as you know, we redid the funding formula to better align that cost and the benefit. And this led to Des Moines over an 8-year period going from 33% of the bill up to 49%. We knew we had to phase that in over an 8-year period. Even at that point, again, they would be using 74% of the service and only paying for 49%. We'd still be subsidizing a pretty large portion of the bill, but we understand there's got to be some equity in the system, and that makes a lot more sense to have them at 49 than 33, and we were willing as suburbs to pay that. But, we voted on that funding formula that better aligns cost and benefit. It was 12-0, with Des Moines voting in favor. Not a single community voted against that. And now what we've seen in just the past year is Des Moines somewhat backpedaling and not agreeing to pay what they owe and what we all voted on just 3 years ago. So we're asking them to honor their commitment. That was a unanimous commitment by all member communities and pay their fair share. And we're going to continue to have conversations, and we're hopeful that we can, again, figure out a path forward and keep everybody together, moving in the right direction. So it's just the chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and we are stronger together. So, okay.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, one more thing.
yes.
I simply have to acknowledge your leadership on this, because everyone, just so you know, Mayor Trumbull has just done a really, really important service to the entire metropolitan area, because I know for the fact that he is reaching out to different mayors in different communities, keeping these lines of communication open, lines that really, really need to be open when, yeah, there's an issue. Certainly, we're talking about this issue. We're trying to go through it, but we have to keep those lines open. Otherwise, everyone goes into their own camps, and it gets really dicey really, really quickly. So, Mr. Mayor, I want to acknowledge your leadership, and I want to say I'm very, very grateful that you are leading the way on this, meeting with Des Moines, meeting with the other suburbs, because your work is very important. So thank you for that,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mayor.
Councilman. I appreciate it. Everybody else that's made comments, I really do appreciate it. And, to our riders who are going to be most impacted if for some reason in the next couple months we can't get it together and figure something out. First of all, I am hopeful that we will be able to do that, but we will never let the ball drop on this. We will always make sure that we are providing transportation services to make sure that you get to critically important medical rides as well as school and your job. As you know, 60% of the rides we provide are to people's jobs. These are people that are asking for a hand up, not a handout, and they're working real hard to better themselves and they're provide for their families. And we will, if we can't figure a path forward, we will figure out a better way for you.
Well, I think it needs to be said, I don't think people understand how much work you are actually personally putting into this. So I want to echo what Greg said, just because
I appreciate that.
and the other thing I think about is not only is it tons of work and time, I'm not sure there's another member of our community in all of the suburbs and Des Moines that could lead this other than you. So I'm thankful you're on it.
You guys are too kind.
Yeah.
You guys are too kind. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
And I still want to be able to say ride the bus with Russ. So
I know. Unfortunately, I was about to fire that up, and I think we may have to cancel based on everything we've got going. But September 26th was going to be my first ride the bus with Russ in Altoona, and I think staff at DART just got too much on their plate right now, so we may need to cancel that. But we'll reschedule, for the summer. So, okay, moving on. And again, thank you so much. Moving on to item 4, the consent agenda. I know that there are items here that people want to pull. I think one of them is item
N3
4C7 and 8. And Kevin, what was?
N3 and R.
And N4N3.
and
also
4F.
4R. Okay. Councilman Lotz, did you add one too?
4F.
Wow, okay, 4F. Okay, anybody else? Seeing no one, I would.
Move the remainder.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 4C, 7, and 8, I believe we can take at the same time. We pulled this for a potential conflict of interest of one of our members. Does somebody want to?
Motion to approve.
Approval?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
4 yes, 1 abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
Okay, moving on to item 4F, which is a motion for approval of conflict waiver with Allers and Cooney PC regarding Waukee Community School District. Councilman Lotz.
Yeah, I just, I think Jessica is the lead person on this, or maybe Ryan. There's one sentence in this letter that caught my eye, and so I just want to ask a question about it.
Okay, and
Maybe that's of Greta.
maybe we ask Greta to yield to a question?
Yes, I can do that, and Jessica may be online as well if we need her.
Okay, so either Greta or Jessica are going to yield to a question here, whoever's more appropriate. Councilman Lotz, what's your question on this item?
All right, in the letter from Allers and Cooney, obviously they're asking us to acknowledge that there's a conflict of interest, that they're going to represent the Waukee School District and the city, or they would like to do so in the negotiation that goes on for building that new school. And the thing that caught my eye was the statement, our firm's representation of the school district on the matter will directly averse to the city because they are concurrent representations. So my question is given such a statement in this letter, why is staff recommending approval on this, and why would we not seek different counsel in this matter?
We don't believe that the conflict will be a material disadvantage to the city. We can, if the council chooses, seek a different counsel. It's my understanding Allers is representing the city on the development agreement matter. The matter where we would be waiving the conflict of interest is a different issue related to the school specifically, and I'm looking here because I can't, thinking back.
I just,
Greta, I'm on if
Thank you.
I can assist. This is Jessica Grove. So the conflict waiver is Allers is going to still handle the establishment of the urban renewal area, the expansion of the urban renewal area for Coach Light, and they're going to handle all of that process. But as to any specific development agreements for the usage of the TIF dollars, for anything that involves the school, our office is handling that directly, and we have been doing so. Our office has been communicating directly with the school and Pavilion Park, who owns the property currently, and that would be for the construction of EP True Parkway and Bridgewood Boulevard.
okay. So we're saying we don't need outside counsel for this, we'll handle it internally. But in the sense that we might need to seek it in the future, why would we not seek that now? Our firm's representation of the school district on this matter will be directly adverse to the city because they are concurrent representations. Like that, to me, forecasts some issue that will likely come up. And for me, I don't know why I would vote to acknowledge this and waive it. I would say on this matter, let's seek someone else to represent us, or tell them that they need to either decide they're going to represent the school district or us, one or the other. I mean,
But correct me if I'm wrong, this is just an acknowledgement of a conflict of interest with a law firm that we retain to represent the city. They're coming forth and saying, I have this conflict in this case, and we need to be able to waive the fact that they have a conflict of interest to continue working with them in this matter and other matters. If we want to go with another firm in a specific situation, we can do that, but this just allows us, we're just acknowledging here that they have a conflict between us and the school, and we're still agreeing to use them as a law firm that we use for outside legal counsel.
Correct. Your Mayor, you are correct.
Okay.
And the Waukee Community School District will be signing the exact
Same
same
thing.
thing.
So, but to Councilman Lotz's example, I mean, in the specific case of negotiating with the school, I think you guys covered that, but in the event that the council doesn't feel comfortable having Allers, essentially be a dual agent, if you will, we could either ask that this work be done in-house, or we could look at contracting with another firm specifically for this job?
We could, however, I will note that the individual attorneys that we normally work with through our contract with Allers for most development related matters, as far as creating urban renewal areas, doing development agreements across the city, are not going to be involved in any negotiation on behalf of the school. It's a completely separate attorney, so they are keeping separation within their
Gotcha.
law firm. It's just we're using the same law firm, so they will have to still keep those matters separate in
No,
their
they
law.
Like I've taken lots of ethics classes over the days, and one of the big things is to avoid the appearance. Okay, they've notified us that there's a conflict. That's great. Why does it take a council vote to say, oh, we're okay with that? I just don't feel like they sent us the letter, they did their thing. I think we move forward. There's no way I'm going to acknowledge this.
Well, because it's either we acknowledge this and we waive this, or we basically say that we are not going to use them as an outside legal counsel for anything else, I think is what the action is that we're taking. We're acknowledging that there's a conflict and we're choosing to continue to use them because there are limited times probably where they're going to be representing both the Waukee School District and the city of West Des Moines. They happen to be in the situation that you're talking about, but those are going to be, few and far between cases, and we think that they do great legal work otherwise. And so we're acknowledging it, we're waiving it, and we're moving on. But if we want to, we can not use them for this particular case.
Your Honor, I don't see that in the pinky anywhere where it says that if we don't acknowledge this, we can't do business with Allers and Cooney anymore.
I think this is a standard procedure that we've taken every year that we've used them. Essentially every.
Sorry if I can interrupt.
ahead.
This is just specific to the development project related to the potential third Waukee High School. We did this exact same thing when Brookview Elementary School expanded their parking lot and the city sold a piece of the park ground to the school so they could expand to eliminate the pickup and drop off issues that they had. It was the exact same thing because Allers represents the Waukee Community School District. I negotiated, or it wasn't really a negotiation, it was just working with and sending documents for review to attorneys in Allers, and council also waived the conflict in that. We have to we either waive the conflict, as the mayor has said, or we cannot use Allers for this specific item. They can't represent the school and they can't represent us. So we would have to utilize a different council to do the elements of what they would be participating in.
So Jessica, if I could ask here, as I read the letter though, I think the point Doug was making is, it says the city of West Des Moines, this is in the first paragraph, will be a party to this agreement, and we understand the city will be represented by the city attorney's office. So if Allers and Cooney is representing the school, they will not simultaneously be representing the city of West Des Moines relative to this development agreement. Is that right?
They will be representing the city of, in the development agreement, but they are representing the city in the expansion of the Coach Light urban renewal area, which has to be expanded so that we can do the development agreements to capture available TIF to construct and extend the roadways necessary for this project.
Okay.
This is just really dicey for me.
And that being said, if you're not comfortable with it, I would advise you to vote against it.
I will be. Thank you.
Yep.
But what involvement is the city attorney's office going to have? Because as Matt pointed out, it says that we're going to be representing ourselves. So how are they representing both parties? I'm not tracking on that.
Greta, I can probably explain that the best.
Okay.
So the way in which there is this conflict is by the expansion of the Coach Light urban renewal area that will financially allow for the city to utilize TIF money to extend roadways that would otherwise be a developer, quote unquote, developer responsibility. So the future of the school would have potentially had to build some of the roads or pay for the entire cost of the road potentially. So by expanding the urban renewal area, that's where they're representing both the city and have an interest as far as the school. As far as the representation from the city attorney's office, I am with Greta's review, where we have prepared the specific development agreements that spell out the details of how those roadways will be paid for and constructed. There will be one roadway that is covered 100% by TIF and another roadway, which is a cost sharing agreement where the Waukee will have some financial impact that they will be giving. They will be giving some money to the city for the construction of Bridgewood. Those two agreements have been already drafted by me, and they have been shared with both the school district and with the attorney for Pavilion Park. If we don't waive this conflict, the school district cannot use Allers to review those agreements, and we cannot use Allers to expand the Coach Light urban renewal area.
Okay, so the city's going to know exactly step by step everything that's going to be taking place.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Councilwoman Hartman.
Yeah, my question is, and I do appreciate that we're taking time to review this. With Allers involved, representing both the city and the school on the expansion of the urban renewal areas, is there push and pull about what we want and what they want, where this attorney's going to be representing both sides, or is there not? Are there competing interests?
No.
Okay.
The attorney representing us to do the expansion is our attorney we normally use on all expansions and creations of urban renewal areas.
Okay.
There is a separate attorney that is reviewing and making comments on the development agreements that I have drafted.
But they are in the same firm.
Correct.
They both work for Allers.
Oh, okay.
And you have to establish the urban renewal area so that we can pay for the roads using TIF. I suppose they could try to widen the area, make it bigger than it needs to be or something. They wouldn't do that, though.
Council still
It's
has
the
to
appearance and the
approve all of
opportunity
that
of
as well.
conflict of interest that bothers me. And this would be something that I would avoid personally in my professional life.
Okay. I guess, are there any other comments, questions before we put this to a vote?
We didn't get a motion yet.
Okay. We're still asking questions, I guess. Are there any, before I ask for a motion?
Maybe I'll just, for a point of clarification,
Okay.
and I'm sorry to beat a dead horse here, but I think Councilwoman Hardman, you mentioned on the urban renewal area, is there going to be a negotiation between the city and the school?
Yeah.
And I feel like I heard kind of two different things. No, there isn't. But then I thought I heard, well, there is, but there's separate attorneys. Is that, so is there a negotiation between
So
them or not?
Matt, if I can interject, I think we need to be clear on the expansion of the urban renewal area is 100% a city decision for us to seek approval to expand the urban renewal area with the appropriating, we have to get approval from the county and go through all of the appropriate public hearing steps and get formal council approval. That area has to be established before we can do any agreements to capture the actual financing, the TIF money that's available from that area. So the urban renewal area will be established solely from the city, no negotiation based off of the school district. That's a city decision. The council has the authority to approve that through that process. The separate element to this, the step 2, is negotiation on development agreements of how the roadways that we're going to utilize the TIF money are going to be constructed, timing, how many lanes, all of that is being established. Quite frankly, Brian with engineering has already provided all of the necessary information. And when you approved, there's a plat of survey that will get approved through this. There's irrevocable offers of right of way that are already being agreed to. So all of the elements of the development agreements will be negotiated between our office, the city attorney's office, and an attorney separate from, but in the same firm as the attorney who is assisting on the documents to expand the urban renewal area. So I did say there's two things, but there's two different steps to this.
I just don't think in what we're looking at doing that there is a lot of room for, the attorneys to do something that is going to compromise us or them. It's just not that kind of work that's being done here, frankly. But if you guys don't feel comfortable with this, then you need to vote no. I guess let me ask Jessica, in the event that we don't have the votes to pass this, what does this then mean? It means that neither of us can use Ollers, and both of us have to use another firm and different firms. And then is this an added cost, or it just basically it's an added cost because time is money and it slows down the process? And we may not be able to find attorneys that specialize in this area that can do as good of a job as Ollers? Or what does this mean if this thing were to be voted down?
Well, Ryan Moffett is there, and he could probably clarify if I don't say this, appropriately. But yes, the ultimate thing is it will slow down the process, because the next step or the process that's getting done, and Ryan could say where they're at in the process, is the expansion of the urban renewal area. As far as the development agreements, I'm in the process already of negotiating these, but I cannot get. It would delay it in that the school district would be required to get different counsel to review my documents.
Okay, and Ryan is up here now. I can just tell you this. I mean, we've been working on this for how long? When we first had that special meeting and called kind of the property.
Probably since at least last fall.
It's been about a year. Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan Moffett, Community and Economic Development Director. I really do. I think I agree with what Jessica's saying. This is really, in my opinion, more of a procedural matter for council to look at. As you can tell, we're pretty far along in the negotiation on this infrastructure agreement. We've actually already initiated the urban renewal plan. We've got a hearing set for October 7th. So Ollers has already drafted that plan. This is a necessary step just to really bring to our attention that they are representing both parties. But my opinion, I think the risk is pretty low in terms of any type of collusion or risk to the city in this matter. I think it's just a courtesy notice on their part to advise us of this. So.
Well, and again, this isn't the first time we've done this on this type of a situation.
Right. I recall doing this at least one other time, if not more.
But so, Jessica's point, we'd have to vote on the urban renewal plan first to create that, and then basically the infrastructure agreement would follow that in terms of an approval.
And we're going to have our
process.
finance director, Tim Stiles, come up and maybe add to the conversation here. And then we'll take a couple other questions, concerns, and then you guys can vote how you feel comfortable voting.
We'll beat this dead horse for a second longer. Tim Stiles, Finance Director. I would just remind the council that the world of municipal representation in Iowa for attorneys is very, very small. There's essentially the Ollers firm and the Dorsey firm. I would say Ollers has most of the school and larger city as clients across the state. This is not a unique situation for them. They've done this probably hundreds of times. If we were to need to ever switch, we did use Dorsey for about 2 years in 2019 and 2020, and we did not have the greatest experience and went back to Ollers. So like I said, I know it appears awkward because Ollers represents a lot of clients in this environment in the municipal and school world, but I guess all I would say is we've tried others and did not have great success. So given where we're at with this, I'm not sure. It's difficult for you guys because it doesn't appear like you have much of a choice, but that's just kind of the background of where we're at.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a vote. I feel comfortable with this. We've done it before, but you guys got to vote your conscience and whatever you feel makes the most sense. Like Ryan said, I don't think there's a lot of room for something for them to pull a fast one on us or to not negotiate on our behalf on something. I just don't see, the risk is very low.
The other point that I'd make too is we had a decision at one point in time for Ollers to represent, and this would have taken a vote of the council as well, but to represent both the city and the school district to do the development agreement. And we made a conscious decision to go ahead and have in-house legal go ahead and do that, just so there wasn't that perceived or real conflict that could come up. And so I think that's a step that we've taken to protect ourselves in this case.
Okay, any other questions or comments and before we vote?
We still need a motion.
I'm going to move
I know.
approval.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, moved by Kevin, seconded by Greg. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Four yes, one no.
Okay, moving on to item 4N3 with Kevin. We've got a resolution for approval of professional service agreement for the Raccoon River Bridges feasibility study. Councilman Trevilian.
Well, I'm going to move approval of this with the amendment that we do take out the 35th Street corridor, because common sense tells you that's not the place to put it. It's going to be a road or a bridge to nowhere. Will end ultimately, if it continues through, it'll end up here at Mill Civic Parkway. 2-lane road. You've got a 2-lane road down on Grand and South 35th, where all the new houses were built down on Verplug's property. To me, if it's going to move forward in the commerce area, the only one that even remotely makes sense is 50th Street, because it does go then to, 4-lane road, I believe it is, or at least 3, and then ultimately ends up on our north boundary. So I'm going to move that we, at this point, remove 35th and 50th for further internal discussions about this. And this is what I brought up at the Public Works Subcommittee, or Public Services, Subcommittee meeting last Monday. And I was shocked to see then that this is coming for us for approval, because that wasn't my understanding. So.
Okay, and we've got a motion. I assume that we want to have Brian present before we have somebody second. If not, if somebody wants a second, that's fine.
I'm curious for what Kevin said, but I'm also curious to hear about Brian first before we move forward with this particular thing. I want to hear some more information.
All right, Brian, why 35th? Why the roads here? Why not other roads? You could answer that.
Why not?
Sure thing. Brian Hemesat, city engineer. I'm going to take us back just a little bit to around 2009, 2010. I can't remember who was all here at the time. But yeah, I know, and maybe Russ, I don't know. We went through the comprehensive plan. At the time, we had on our ultimate street circulation map, we had bridges over the Raccoon River at both Jordan Creek Parkway and the 50th and 35th area. At that time, we were told to remove those, but add a blurb on there about doing a study, look at the environmental, look at the alignment, so on and so forth. So that got removed, and we went through the new comprehensive plan. The Jordan Creek Parkway one got added back onto the map. The 50th and South 30 or the 35th Street one did not. And in the meantime, we were asked by Russ, and we brought it to the CIP that was approved. So what we're doing now is we are looking at both of those areas in general to see which two alignments or which alignments would be best on the east and west side of Interstate 35.
But is it like Councilman Trevilian said, is it obvious to the naked eye as an engineer that 35th is just absolutely out of the question, doesn't work for obvious reasons?
So up on your screen, you can see the ultimate street circulation map as it stands today. So 50th Street is the blue line that's right here. 35th is the yellow line that's right there. And the place where we want to, and from our opinion, our engineering staff opinion, is we want to aim for the interchange at Southeast 35th and Iowa 5, because that's where you can actually gain access to Iowa 5 and then on over to I-35, and then also that would continue on to the south. So that's where we're aiming. There really isn't a really good place anywhere else along Iowa 5. So if you look straight north from there,
that is where South 35th Street is located. And then if you look just to the west of there, the blue line, that's where South 50th is located. So we will have to do a fair amount of jockeying, for lack, that's an engineering term, to get the road over to 50th Street if that's the way we go. But then it's a little bit more of a straight shot to 35th to go up that way. So if our opinion and the reason why we why we're asking folk to look at both is just to rule out one or the other. And to Tom Stoll's point, bring people together, let's talk. Those are all things that'll happen as part of the study. We'll bring, and I'll make sure that Foth understands that both of these locations, 50th and 35th, are both things that have been looked at in the past, and I don't think they've ever officially been studied by the city. So let's pull all that information together, look at it as part of this study, and just let's put it behind us. Let's say, okay, yeah, let's rule out 35th, let's rule out 50th, or rule them in, and then we don't have to have these discussions again. That would be my recommendation.
Did I hear you correctly that there's either going to be one, if we're doing it, there's not going to be one at 35th and 50th. It's either going to be 35th or 50th.
Correct.
Okay.
But why can't we have those discussions without spending $140,000 for an engineer to sit there and listen to what we're saying? Why can't we, the city, council, citizens, staff, have those discussions based on what Tom said, 30 years of discussion over this thing, and then say, okay, here's where we're recommending. We may decide that it doesn't make sense to put it anywhere down in the commerce area.
Right.
But why spend that money for an engineer to, in a sense, take our watch and tell us what time it is?
Well, it's a not to exceed item, so it won't go over 140,000. So if we engage them and we get together and we look at that South 35th as something that's not feasible with that group, then it'll be over fairly quickly and we can move on. One thing that engineering staff does not have, and I'll admit to this, we don't have a lot of experience in environmental studies, and we don't have a lot of experience in building bridges. So those are two things that we need the expertise of both to help us with to get through that portion of the project.
Okay, but what you're talking about under the background, the last sentence in that first paragraph, environmental services will be desktop review only and no field work will be completed. Why? I mean, how do you come up with a recommendation if you don't know firsthand, looking at it, what's out there? We could do that internally and save money.
What I'm telling you, Kevin, is we internally don't have the expertise to do a desktop environmental study. I would rather have Eva Moritz with Foth, who has 30 years of experience doing that work, doing a desktop study to look at that. That's all I'm saying. I'm good either way.
Okay.
But that's what engineering is telling you that would be the best way to go
Councilwoman
forward.
Hardman.
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate, Brian, you sharing your thoughts and whatnot. And I guess my thought is that we have consultative agreements for a lot of things that we do here. In this arena, things tend to be, in the six figures or whatever. Environmental, engineering is expensive. And if we have a director that's saying, my team lacks what is needed to make this kind of big decision, at some point, we got to kind of look at him saying, we don't have the expertise to do the environmental study, we don't build bridges, so there's a consulting company that can help us assess whatever. So I'm inclined to try to find a way to get them what they need in order for the best decision to be made, unless there's people in-house that can make it now. Obviously, there isn't. That's why they went out for this. So I'm just.
Yep, and I think when we had the lines on the map, I think part of the problem, and I remember when we first had the lines on the map back in, 2009, 2010, when we were doing the review of the comprehensive plan, it was essentially lines on a map. It was where we had looked and we thought, and by we, our engineering department, and thought, this is probably where it makes sense to go, is here, here, and here. Now, the problem with that is that it went right through the Stoll's living room. And their house, I don't know if you know the history, is the second oldest home to the Jordan House in West Des Moines, and it was a makeshift hospital back in the 1800s. And so the council said, unacceptable, unacceptable. We will not do that. Even though it is for a road, we won't do that, because the impact is too great to this historic property and to this family. But at the same time, so we took those lines off the map at 35th and 50th, but now, we've been working hard on economic development and growing the city, coming up with different programs to do that. We need a bridge. We need multiple bridges over the Raccoon River, and that's going to be economic development in and of itself. The bridge gets over there, there's going to be people building on the other side of the river. And so we need to take a look at it and see what's feasible and what's not feasible. And it may be that 35th or Commerce, that's not feasible. To be feasible, in my opinion, it's got to be feasible from an engineering standpoint. It's got to be feasible from a financial standpoint. And it's also got to be feasible from a political standpoint. In other words, we want to take a look at how it impacts the people. And, is there one that impacts the people less than the other and still makes sense from an engineering standpoint and a financial standpoint? And one of these things might need to give to come up with the best solution, and we'll take a look at that. But we want the smartest path forward. We want, the path forward that makes the most sense for the greatest number of people. And I think doing this is going to tell us what that path is. And it may not be 35th or Commerce, and that's fine. We might rule that out.
But Russ, we also have to take in the historical aspect of this as well. I mean, we did that with the Nazarene campground, okay?
Sure.
The Stoll's property dates back to 1870, I believe, okay? So not just the house, but the whole property. And that was part of the reason that this thing got, I guess, derailed years ago.
Right.
And now it's rearing its ugly head again. And that's what I don't understand, is what's changed over the years.
Well, there was no study as to where.
No, but common sense told them that wasn't the place to put it.
Well, I don't think there was any study as to what made the most sense for bridges over the Raccoon River. And now what we're saying is let's do a feasibility study and see what makes sense. And what might make sense from an engineering and a financial standpoint may not make sense from a historical or a political standpoint. And we may have a better route. And what Brian is saying is it's either going to be 50th or 35th. I thought that it would make sense that we were going to have multiple bridges over the river at various points, but it sounds like either it's 35th or 50th, but not both. So we might find after the feasibility study, like I said, that 35th is just not the smartest, best way to go for a number of reasons, and we don't go that route. And frankly, I would not support or push forward anything that went through the Stoll's living room like the last plan did. But again, the last plan was just a line on a map and an area that made sense and an alignment that I think people thought made sense just looking at roads on a map. But that's why we need to do the feasibility study.
But I still think we can do it without 35th. That's my point.
Okay.
First of all, I think from an economic development standpoint, Mayor, I agree with you. Where a bridge crosses or wherever there's going to be development, we actually see that happening right now. When you look at Grand Prairie Parkway, bridge over the river opened, 2.5, 3 years ago. And now we have a lot of development happening across the river. My feeling is that the future of West Des Moines is on the south side of the Raccoon River. Can't go west much further. And so I think these feasibility studies, obviously I wasn't here in 2010, at least on the council, that is. And I don't have the history, but I do know that it is important to understand what options exist. And I think we owe it to all residents to understand, what the ups and the downs, the pros and the cons are of various configurations. I'll also echo, Mayor, your comment. I'm not interested, and I've told this to Mr. Stahl, I'm not interested in putting a bridge right through, or a road or a bridge or anything through his home. And so, be that as it may, if we move forward with the study, it's found infeasible, then it's found infeasible. But I'm going to state up front, I'm not interested in disrupting a Century Farm.
Councilman Hudson and then Councilman Hardman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brian, thank you for sharing the thoughts. I'm going to support moving forward here, but I'm just really thinking about the cost. And I'm looking at the map, I'm just looking through Google Maps, and I'm looking at where 35th Street would have to cross. I mean, there's State Park. That's where Walnut Wood State Park. There's a little bit of a gap where the park ends, and then I was looking at the DNR map, and it seems like we would be pigeonholed into going to that one spot, and it would come really close to your property, Tom. So I'm just looking at that as a layperson. And then Jordan Creek Parkway, I have a question. Like, that would go up to Moffett Lake Road, but that would just be a road to Moffett Lake Road. Would there be a further plan to continue south through existing development in Moffett Lake Road? I don't have the map in front of me
Yep,
again.
and my computer is unplugged, so it goes black quickly. But the plan is to get it all the way down to Veterans Parkway and beyond. That is the ultimate plan. If you look at the ultimate street circulation map, it shows it going all the way through there. It'll be difficult to get it through some of those developed areas, but I mean, it's something we need to look at. We can't have an interstate without having some kind of flanking frontage arterials of some kind on either side. It's just we'd be putting ourselves in a bad situation from a traffic or a transportation standpoint.
And the other bridge that would be close to 35th, would it be going through all of these ponds, not Purple Martin, but to the east, those retention ponds or whatever they are right there? It would
basically, they're used gravel pits is what they are.
Right. And so it would go over that and meet up with 35th Street at the bypass?
We'd probably be filling them in is what we'd be doing.
Okay. That just strikes me as maybe a little bit difficult, but I don't know. I rarely fill in gravel pits. Let's see. That was my last question specifically. My only issue, I'm going to vote yes on this going forward, but my only issue is it feels like, and I think, Kevin, this is your point, it feels like it is a maximum of $140,000 or whatever the number specific, $141,000, but it feels like we should be able to do it for a lot less. So I would just like to encourage you to really, when we're having these meetings, if it's not going to happen, let's go ahead and close the wall at that exact moment, because the study needs to be done. We found this out early in the stages. Let it be done, and maybe it costs a lot less than that. So that's why I just want to encourage you. I know you do a great job with it already, but I want to re-encourage that. So.
Okay, Councilwoman Hardman.
I just would like to indicate that I guess I have a question for you, Brian. Would you be comfortable going forward without this feasibility study being done?
At all?
Yeah, at all.
No.
Oh, okay.
I think it needs to be done, and I think it needs to be done for a lot of reasons because of what Mayor Trimble was talking about for economic development. I think it's important to look at where we can cross the river. And then the other thing is those two places that have been kind of, like you said, it keeps rearing its ugly head. Well, let's push the ugly head down and get this put to rest for good. That's kind of what the reasoning that I'm looking at. Let's get this figured out and put it away. And then we don't have to come back to it again. Because we'll have a study that says South 35th, nope. Or South 50th, nope, or whatever. So that's how I would move forward if it were up to me.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I needed to hear.
Sooner rather than later, because I think we could find out very soon in the process, in which case, boom, it's done.
Correct.
The other thing I would say is we're talking about economic development, but the other thing that we need to be talking about as well is public safety, right? I mean, that's when we talked about getting bridges over the river, when we, talked about readdressing on the other side of the river is about public safety as well. That's another added and extremely important benefit.
Right.
But
there is a public safety station at the corner of 50th and of 50th and Grand.
Right, Station 18 right there. Okay, we've got a motion on the table, and that motion, Kevin, again, is to pull off the option of studying 35th Street and then moving this forward as is without that on there? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Can I have a rebuttal at all on any of that? I know it's out of procedure.
Unfortunately, no, because it's,
We have a second.
there's no public comment on this item.
Well, we had it to begin with.
We had it to begin with. Come on up, Tom. Come on.
Sorry to drag on.
Make it quick, not a whole dissertation.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Sorry to extend on this. I completely agree about the expertise. It definitely needs to go out. We'll take a look at it. Unfortunately, it was originally pitched to council subcommittee that we're looking from all areas from First Street all the way to 80th. So now all of a sudden we're just pointing a map right at 30th or a point at 35th and 50th. Back when these discussions first started, two of them, the DNR said, absolutely not. You're not putting the bridge on the west side of our Walnut State Park. They proposed on the east side, which is about where the pedestrian bridge is now. And we had been talking about that for years, but then all of a sudden a pedestrian bridge gets placed, but not a two-lane facility associated with an adjoining pedestrian bridge. The DNR was having nothing to do with that. In addition to connecting to South 35th Street on the Highway 5 bypass, the DOT was also involved in all the previous discussions, and they wanted a bridge for the simple fact to keep city traffic on city roads. They didn't want it to get onto Highway 5 bypass. So it just comes back to the same thing where we're putting the cart before the horse. We're putting all this money to do this feasibility study when we don't even have all the parties involved that articulated their concerns last time. Let's go down, let's sit down, talk with everybody, get everybody's concern, and then do the feasibility study. I'm not anti-feasibility study by any stretch. You know, it was laid out on the comp plan. Everybody, all the citizens took their time to put in their input. They kept the bridge at Jordan Creek Parkway. Absolutely, let's do that. But let's sit down and slow this down a little bit. There's no development currently occurring over there. Let's sit down and let's not do the same thing like we did on the bridge on 105th. We built the bridge, but we didn't include the railroad in those discussions. Now we've had to pay for two bridges because now we had to fly over the railroad bridge. Where if we would have stopped and had those discussions with the railroad, maybe we could have moved an alignment for a railroad crossing. Anyway.
Yeah, appreciate your comments. I think, you know, if that's the case, the DNR had an issue, they'll come back and have an issue this time, and we'll learn this all through the same process.
After we spend the money. But yeah, it's good.
You know, but.
Thank you.
And I asked Brian, what about other locations? Are there any other locations between 105th and First Street that would make sense for a bridge? And while we may not have the expertise to do the environmental study and some of the other things that are required for this feasibility study, I think there's some basic elements that we do have that where we can say that, no, I mean, the bridges make sense at, you know, maybe 74th or Jordan Creek Parkway, 50th, 35th. You know, are there other options? It doesn't appear so, but.
Between First and 35th, there's Brownswoods Park, Raccoon River Park, Walnut Woods Park. There's just, to try to build something through there, I'm not going to be the one to make the suggestion to go through those areas. And then beyond that, no, I think having one at Grand Prairie Parkway, one at Jordan Creek Parkway, and then something on the, something between I-35 and First Street in that general vicinity of 50th to 35th would be a good possible location if the feasibility study shows that we can do it.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Okay, the motion dies for lack of a second. Does somebody want to make another motion? I guess a motion to approve the study with all of the areas in here that are identified.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
I'll just make a comment because I've been sitting here listening to this. So I think it's okay to do the study. I'm not that worried about the 140 grand. I think more information for all is better. There's no way I would ever vote to put a bridge through Tom's property. And so I just don't see a harm in doing the study now.
Okay.
One thing I'm going to ask is that if this moves forward, that staff notifies all property owners in the Commerce area so that they know what's taken place and they can be a part of these discussions rather than just sit in somebody's office with the engineering firm and decide if it's going to work or not. I think they need to hear all of the information.
Okay, I don't know if that was included as part of the scope for the engineer, so that may, an additional.
Why wouldn't you want to hear from them?
Well, we're going to have the same, I'm not opposed to letting the residents know so they can come in and have a voice in the process. Absolutely not. I think the problem is that we've got something in state code that determines how we notify people and when we notify people. And, I don't know that this meets that. So we're going to have to talk about how to get that done.
Just
we don't set a precedent and then we're notifying everybody on everything. Hey, we're doing new park equipment in the park. Everybody in the neighborhood, Willow Springs Park, come on in and let us know what you think about the park equipment. I mean, I understand this is a lot more important than that, but I'm just telling you, it sets a precedent that we may not want to set. So we got to figure out how to do that, how to notify people if we're going to do it. I'm not opposed to it.
Whatever that is doesn't block the motion that we're going to vote on here.
No. Okay, please vote.
Four yes, one no.
Okay, moving on to item 4R. It's a resolution for approval and acceptance of condemnation award, purchase agreement, and property interest, Mills Civic Parkway widening South 81st Street to South 88th Street. And I'm trying to remember who pulled this one.
I did.
Okay, Councilman Trevilian.
All right, in looking at this with the two property owners, 8415 Mills and 8305 Mills, I'm a little curious why under the summary on the right-hand side of Exhibit A, it says, with an asterisk, condemnation award, which is $70,000, includes additional $15,985 above highest offer. What exactly does that mean? Does that mean we're paying them almost 30% more than what we should be?
I'm assuming that's for things that are property that's being impacted, trees or
That's what
something.
condemnation is.
Right, but
Why the additional above?
This went to a contested hearing in front of the Condemnation Commission, and they have the ability to award above what our highest and best offer was, and in this case, they did.
Okay.
so it wasn't specifically for trees that are being taken out or anything like that, like we've seen in the past. It's just they awarded something higher than
Correct.
what we had. Okay.
All right, thank you. I will move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 5, old business. Item 5A, amendment to city code, Title 9, zoning, Chapter 3, general provisions, and Chapter 14, accessory structures, modify regulations pertaining to non-conforming fences, city initiated.
And move consideration.
Yep, we've got an ordinance for approval, the second reading, waiver of the third reading, adoption of final form, and there are no outstanding issues and no changes. Okay.
Move consideration of the second reading.
Moved, it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, please vote.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024, Title 9 zoning, Chapter 3, general provisions, and Chapter 14, accessory structures pertaining to non-conforming fences.
Move approval of the second reading.
Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Move waiving the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 6, public hearings, item 6A. This is a time, and I'm sorry, item 5B, as we mentioned at the beginning, was amended and removed from the agenda. Item 6, public hearings, item 6A. This is a time and a place for a public hearing to consider Isles Funeral Home, 7200 and 7010 Ashworth Road, amend comprehensive plan land use map to designate multi-use low land use and amend Reed's Crossing Planned Unit Development or PUD ordinance to incorporate 7010 Ashworth Road into the PUD and to regulate funeral services and crematories development initiated by Isles Funeral Home Real Estate LLC. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
August 30th, 2024 in the Des Moines Register.
And have received any written comment to this hearing?
The Plan and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 7 yes, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the comp plan amendment and PUD amendment.
Okay, anybody from the audience that would like to address the council on item 6A, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, please hit *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody either in the chamber or online that would like to address council on item 6A? Okay, hearing no one, I will declare the public hearing closed. We've got a resolution approving the comprehensive plan land use map amendment and an ordinance for approval of the first reading, amending the PUD. We've got to take these separately. Can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, now can I get a motion for consideration of the first reading, amending the PUD?
Move consideration of the first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Okay, please vote.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the City Code of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024, and ordinances pertaining to plan unit development, number 29, district regulations and guidelines.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 6B. This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider 2023-2024 fiscal year Community Development Block Grant Program Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice is published?
September 6, 2024, in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comment to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody in the audience would like to address the council item 6B, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody online, hit *6 to unmute yourself. Is there anybody either online or in the chamber that would like to address the council on item 6B? Okay, awkward pause has gone by. I will declare the item, the public hearing closed, and we've got a resolution approving the FY24 Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, and there are no outstanding issues. Does someone want to move approval of the resolution? Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay. Item 7, new business. Item 7A, Delavan Warehouse, 2101 Delavan Drive. Approve final plat to create 14 condominium lots for industrial development and 2 outlots. Next phase development, 2101 Delavan Drive, LLC. We've got a resolution for approval and release of the final plat, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Or online? *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, is there any discussion on the dais? Hearing none, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 7B, First Street Retail Space, 836 First Street, approved site plan to allow construction of a 2,500 square foot retail building, First Street Limited Partnership. We've got a resolution for approval of the site plan. There are no outstanding issues, and this was approved unanimously by both Planning and Zoning and Development and Planning City Council Subcommittee. Does somebody want to move approval of the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to address the council on item 7B? Is there any discussion on the dais? Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 7C, termination of Mills Parkway Subdistrict Number 5, TIF District, city initiated. We've got an ordinance for consideration of the first reading, repealing portions of ordinance numbers 1384, 1560, 1740, 1800, 1824, 2014, 2072, 2314, 2427, 2466, 2558, and 2587, and there are no outstanding issues. Does somebody want to move consideration of the first reading of the ordinance?
Move to consider the first reading?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to address the council on item 7C? Please hit *6 to unmute yourself, unless you're in the chamber. because that would just be weird. Okay, hearing no one, is there any discussion on the dais? Okay, please vote.
5 yes, an ordinance amending ordinance numbers 1384, 1560, 1740, 1800, 1824, 2014, 2072, 2314, 2427, 2466, 2558, and 2587, and providing that general property taxes shall no longer be divided on certain property located within the Mills Parkway urban renewal area in the city of West Des Moines.
With a special thanks to Julius and Ryan for going through all of those and making sure those numbers were perfect, I make a motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
You know, Ryan, you almost read as fast as Jody Smith did.
I'm getting there. 5 yes.
Okay, item 7D, South 81st Street, Urban Renewal Area, Jordan Ridge, parcel TIF District, city initiated. We've got an ordinance for approval, the first reading, creating the Jordan Ridge TIF ordinance, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Is there anybody from the audience or online that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, any discussion on the dais? Okay, please vote.
Five yes, an ordinance providing that general property taxes levied and collected each year on certain property located within the South 81st Street urban renewal area in the city of West Des Moines be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to, and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued, incurred by the city in connection with the South 81st Street urban renewal area, Jordan Ridge project area.
Move approval of the first reading.
Greg? Oh, who second? Sorry, Renee.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 7E, termination of Westtown 5 Urban Renewal Plan and TIF District, city initiated. We've got a resolution terminating the Westtown 5 Urban Renewal Plan and ending the Westtown 5 Urban Renewal Area. And we've got an ordinance for approval, the first reading of the ordinance, repealing ordinance numbers 1848 and 2125, providing for the division of taxes levied on the taxable properties within the Westtown 5 Urban Renewal Area. We need to take these separately. Can I first get a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address council on item 7E regarding the resolution? Any discussion on the dais? Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, now can I get a motion to consider the first reading of the ordinance?
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to address council on this item in regards to the ordinance, approval of the ordinance? Okay, hearing and seeing no one, is there any discussion on the dais?
Just say it's great to see these TIF projects play out. Investments are made. Over $101 million are generated within this urban renewal area, and here we are taking efforts to close it down and return the tax base to the proper taxing entities. I think it's an excellent example of TIF being used in an appropriate way.
Absolutely. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, please vote.
5 yes, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 1848 and related ordinances providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the Westtown 5 urban renewal area in the city of West Des Moines pursuant to section 40319 of the Code of Iowa.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
5 yes.
Okay, item 8, receive, file, and/or refer. Item 8A, we will receive and file the resignation of Bill Crane from the Human Services Advisory Board and give much thanks to Bill for his service to the board in the time that he served. Moving on to item 9, other matters. I would recognize Councilwoman Hardman for other matters.
Yes, I appreciate that. And I apologize. I should have really pulled on the consent agenda item. Wait a minute here. 4T. And just to be consistent with how we do others, I didn't want to leave this out as a public reading of this particular proclamation. So I'd feel
Okay.
better if we gave it the
Sure.
reference that you
Sure.
normally give.
Absolutely.
these kind of proclamations.
Absolutely. It's a proclamation honoring Latino Heritage Month. Whereas the city of West Des Moines proclaims Sunday, September 15th to Tuesday, October 15th, 2024 as Latino Heritage Month, and whereas the first observance began in 1968 as a week-long celebration that called upon all Americans to learn about Latino history and was expanded to a full month in 1988 by President Ronald Reagan. On September 15th, 16th, and 18th, many Latin American countries celebrate their Independence Day. And whereas this month provides us the opportunity to highlight the countless contributions of Latinos in West Des Moines. As the fastest growing minoritized population in Iowa, Latinos help shape the social, cultural, and economic fabric of our state. They also account for 19% of the U.S. population, which equates to 63 million people. And whereas throughout West Des Moines history, the Latino community has played a significant role in the development of historic Valley Junction. Serving as rail and cement workers, they helped build the railroad and make the cement that would be used to pave roads and sidewalks, ultimately furthering the vision of historic Valley Junction. And now, therefore, I, Russ Trimble, Mayor of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2024 as Latino Heritage Month. Together, let us commit to learning about the diverse experiences and contributions of Latino Americans. Signed the 16th day of September, 2024. Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other matters? Okay, so with nothing else to come before the City Council, we are adjourned into our executive session.
I would recommend we do the workshop first
Okay.
and then let all those staff
Okay.
leave and then
Sure.
do the executive